Are you putting in all the hours? Are you showing up day in and day out? Maybe you're not in a leadership role yet. I want to communicate how valuable you are to the team today. Welcome back to the Help for Leaders podcast. I'm Stacey Harris. Before we dive into today's episode, I'd love for you to click here to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, ring that bell so you're notified each week when we post new content. Today, I want to talk to you, the person showing up every single day, doing all the work, making sure work is getting done, making sure the projects are being pushed through, keeping people on task. I want to talk to you about how valuable you are and how you can show up the best for your team. I know on the Help for Leaders podcast, I talk a lot to leaders. Well, today, I want to talk to you, the team member that's showing up and really doing your best. And so I want to really come at this from a perspective of just communication and even emotional intelligence. I know so many things are happening on our teams. Some teams are back in person. Some teams are still virtual. Some are hybrid. I know I have some organizations that are going back to work in the office space like 3 days a week and working from home the other 2 days. And not everyone is even overlapping at the same time in the same space. And so that's hard to communicate. That's hard to really show up in your most authentic self. And so I really want to encourage you to be self-aware. Behavior is situational. It's changing all day, every day. What you need one day may not be what you need the next day. And it's really important for you as a team member to be self-aware and to communicate those needs to others on your team, but especially to your leader. And I would say understanding emotional intelligence is also really key because our emotions impact our decision making. Our emotions impact our productivity. Our emotions impact our ability to collaborate with other people. So understanding emotions, and when you are triggered, when you're frustrated, when you're getting fatigued, when you're feeling that burnout, even maybe feeling lonely, being disconnected from your team if you're still in that virtual format, being able to communicate that in a very healthy, productive way is going to be so key for your leader to understand. Because let me tell you something, they don't read minds. I wish we could, but our leaders don't. And so being able to communicate, hey, I'm needing some support in this area, or I'm actually doing great. Things are really well. I'm functioning really well in this way. But being able to communicate that in a way that they hear you. So maybe your manager, maybe your boss, maybe your leader is someone who needs you to send it in a written format, or maybe they don't check their email at all. Maybe Slack is a way that you're communicating in your team, but you're like, they never respond. Don't you hate those people that you get the text and they read it, but they didn't respond to you? Maybe you're not that. Maybe you are that person. I know that's so frustrating to me. I'm the person who's like, okay, I got to get right back to you. We all have preferences, right? It's not right. It's not wrong. We're just all different, and we can't expect other people to understand where we're coming from. So it's on you as that team member to communicate in a way that people are actually hearing you and understanding where you're coming from so that they are best able to support you. So it is all on us. We can't expect, why aren't they doing this for me? Maybe you're just not telling them, okay? So just number one, your manager cannot read your mind, and maybe they're not reading your email, but maybe you need to be able to communicate to them in a way that's going to be helpful. And not just with your manager, maybe it's with your team members that you're saying, hey, I need some help. Maybe there's a deadline that you're coming up against, and technology issues have just not been your friend in that situation, and things have just gone awry. I know for me, I used to wait till the last minute to get some things done because I can be really productive when things are kind of in a pressure situation. And I know that about myself, and I would tend to actually put things off and rely on that burst of adrenaline at the end, that time crunch. But then I had some situations that came up where that failed me miserably, where things were happening and I wasn't aware of, like, oh my gosh, I didn't plan for that not to work. And then I was doing all of these other things and I did not meet the standard that I was normally, meeting or exceeding previously. And so it was really frustrating for me personally, but it was a big eye opener of, if I can do some things early on, it can really help smooth the process so that I'm not waiting to the last minute. And so what is it that you need? Understanding what you need. And again, behavior is situational. So what you need one day may not be what you need the next, but being able to communicate that in a healthy way. And sometimes we think, I told them that. They should know. Guess what? They don't know. That you may have told them and said it 3 times. I was talking to someone just the other day and she said, I could not have been more clear. I said this, this, and this. And I was like, well, did you follow it up in writing? Well, no. It's like, okay, that's a way you could have been more clear. So there's always ways we can be more clear. And I would say going after clarity with kindness is so powerful in all of our relationships and all of our interactions, especially as a team member, because so many times, a manager is looking at kind of all of these different projects, all of these different tasks, kind of moving everything in this timeline toward a desired goal. And maybe you're a piece of that and kind of understanding all those interactions. But communication is going to be key to you really feeling valued, seen, and heard on your team. So I hope this has been helpful. Hope you've learned a few things. Maybe you need to send a few more texts or read those emails or listen to that voicemail or communicate in a way that might not feel conducive to your style, but maybe thinking about your manager or your team members and how they communicate. Maybe you can flex in that way, and that might be really helpful for you this week. So I hope you've learned something today. Join me next week. We'll be talking about more help for leaders and maybe you team members as well. If you enjoyed this episode and would like more information on emotional intelligence, behavioral styles, or communication, I'd love for you to click here to watch more episodes. And we'd also love for you to click here to subscribe so you're notified each week when we post more content.